All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checkered TV. We are here tonight at Talladega for the Area 51 Superspeedway Cup Series. This is going to be race number 3 of 12. We've had two down. You see our points leaders, Matt Quick, Gabe Butler. They've got the 2 wins so far in the season. Third in points, Kevin Friese. You see he's got he's got top 5s in each of those events. Eric Laurie in 4th, Charles Johnson in 5th. You see the remainder of the top 10 there with Bud Steele, Brandon Pasalacqua, Will Eastman, Raymond Rittenauer, and Corey Lane. So the drivers finishing up their qualifying laps here this evening. Saying, as have had before, I say my partner in the booth, Mr. Dale Knott. Always a pleasure to have you with me. So obviously, Daytona, Talladega, I mean, you kind of bundle them together as super speedway tracks, plate tracks, and all that. But you kind of really have to race these two tracks, in my opinion, pretty differently. I don't know if you feel the same way about that or not.
No, absolutely. Talladega, has a little steeper banking, just a tad bit longer. But the big difference to me is where the start-finish line. At Daytona, it's right in the middle of the tri-oval. Talladega, it's about a drag strip further, down on the straight track.
Yeah, and the other thing for me is also just the banking that or not the banking, sorry, but just the extra width you have. You can run so much wider. It's so much easier to run 3 wide at a track like this than you can at Daytona. So I think it opens up a lot of opportunities for these drivers to kind of make those moves, to try to make those 3 wide attempts and see what they can get for track position, instead of kind of feeling like they're kind of stuck in that 2x2, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. At Daytona, there's spots in the track where it gets super narrow. I feel it. Daytona is a very loose track in the tri-oval, and I feel it. In the car, it seems like that is the narrowest part of the track to me. And then coming off of 2, also, it just feels like it kind of squeezes you in. But Talladega, like you say, you really don't have that issue. It feels pretty much the same all the way around the track.
Alright, so with that, we got to pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. So on pole position here is that 25R defending champion of Kevin Friese. He's going to get that bonus point for that pole position. Next to him, Gabe Butler. Then you have in third Raymond Rittenauer, Eric Laurie, Matt Quick, Kevin Hash, Dean Wilkinson, Charles Johnson. 8th through 16th, you've got, 9th through 16th, you got Mark Brown, Bud Steele, Cody Brown, Nicholas Winook, Corey Lane, Rob Malone, Brandon Pasalacqua, Eugene Vernon. And then almost the remainder of the field, I should say, Mitchell Wilkes in 17th, Ted Decker Jr., Jimmy Crow, Jack Walls, Dude Conrad, Dalton Hayes, Thomas Holder, Brian Pierce. And then, unfortunately, all by his lonesome there in 25th. Or you can just kind of say he has his own little window there, say that number 82 of Paul Fletcher, starting in 25th. Alright, so field's just about to get rolling off here. We will get things underway. Again, scheduled distance is 75 laps this evening. Usually that pit window is right around that 25 lap mark, so making sure you get those numbers down is going to be critical for this race. So if you want to get to that 25, ideally lap 26 would be even better if you can. So we'll see if the drivers can get that done this evening. So I'm curious to see what we'll see here, though, Dale. I see some potential for maybe not the double file like we see at Daytona, where someone's going to try to say, you know what, I want to break up that team up front. We want to try to get to the top. We're going to go 3 wide, push hard, and see if we can kind of break that group up front up.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can get a good highline draft group here working, the likelihood that other people are going to jump in and follow you and shove that highline is even greater. At these plate tracks, people go where the cars are moving the fastest, and you kind of got to decide where you want that to be. It's not necessarily dictated by the track.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I say that I think we will see that teamwork with some of those guys. Like I said, like we mentioned, looks like the top 6 are all part of that team right there. Again, they kind of just show their plate racing prowess, if you will. But however, this gonna have a few of their other guys a little further back. Like I mentioned, the 8 of Dude Conrad, he's gonna start in 21st position. He did not take a qualifying lap. However, what he could be looking at this point in that qualifying position. See, maybe he can get a bonus point for the most positions gained in this event.
You know, and those head six, like you just said, being teammates and all that, they want to stay grouped up. They're not going to be able to save much fuel. The guys further back have that option. You know, they can ride back there and save some fuel and maybe get a lap or two extra.
Yes, and usually, I think that 89 of Matt Quick, he's usually kind of Mr. Fuel Save. So he's going to be in a pretty good spot to do that again here. So we'll kind of keep an eye on him and see if that does come into fruition again. But with that, though, you see the pace car just ducked off here. So say Field's going to come around through the travel, like you mentioned. Say got about a drag strip length from the start-finish line to the actual, or from the center of the trial, I should say, to the start-finish line. Saying that something makes a huge difference in how these races play out. So again, Kevin Freeze leading the way, Gabe Butler to his outside, green flag is out, and we are underway here. 75 laps in the split position right at Talladega.
It looks like a pretty good start there. I don't see anybody really lagging back. I think the whole package is really on the draft.
Yes, I think with this group, I say we've got 25 taking the grid this evening. So as long as no little hiccups, anything like that, I think everybody will be in pretty good shape. And what I suspect we're going to see here is, I think we're going to see these teammates jump to the bottom right there. As you see, that one of Gabe Butler, the 071 Eric Laurie, they're all trying to squeeze their way in here. Although, as I say that, though, Gabe wasn't really able to get down there, so now he's going to be actually the one leading this top line. He's got that 9 of Charles Johnson right behind him.
Yeah, and like you say, on the top line there, if they can form up, I find that's actually faster because you're able to, get that run going down the backstretch into the trioval. But people get up there, they get real uncomfortable between cars moving around on the bottom and the wall, so it usually falls apart.
Yeah, so if you're going to run that middle top line, you definitely have to have someone you trust, and of course you got to have a steady hand on that wheel as well. So which right now you can see that 9 is just pushing and shoving that one car, trying to get him to the front right now. So I think he's definitely not wasting any time here trying to push Gabe Butler up to the lead here.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to, they're formed up, got about 6 cars there. It looks like, I think they're going to at least be able to get the one of Gabe Butler to the lead. But they're definitely gaining a lot of ground.
Yeah, again, I'll say right now, obviously those drivers that are using the most fuel right now obviously is the one of Gabe Butler, 25, Kevin Freeze. But I'll say you also kind of suspect that Raymond Rittenauer, Charles Johnson, those two are also probably using a fair amount of fuel, kind of trying to push them to the front. Again, I look at Matt Quick in that 89 car. He's that 4th car on the inside line. You can see he's leaving just enough of a gap behind the 071 of Eric Laurie. And I think this is by plan here for Matt. It's again, he's just going to try to run that extra lap or two and see if he can kind of make sure he gets in that magic number on the fuel side of things. And just give him that little extra cushion just in case that you never know how it's going to wind up.
Well, yeah, the way this runs out, about 25 laps of fuel run, so that doesn't leave anything for a green-white checker. If that would be the case, any late race incidents, there's really not enough fuel to manage that. So saving it early on, saving it for all.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And saying that came to play. I believe it was 2 races ago where Matt Quick was actually in the catbird seat there and was in a great position to win that race. And unfortunately, just kind of everybody else had to save fuel. He was able to lead, but then on that last lap, he got ganged up on and just didn't go to plan for him. However, able to redeem himself with that win the following week, or last week, if you will. So we'll see. He's been in contention for so far both of the wins here this evening. Pretty much, I think actually I want to say leading at the white flag to get the win. So we'll see if Matt can kind of continue that streak that he's had going on so far.
One thing I'm noticing here between Kevin Freeze and Raymond Rittenauer there on the bottom line, and then as well as Eric Laurie, they're not really pushing each other super hard. They still got a little gap between the bumper. So I think they're able to stay out front here, save a little fuel, and they're not, not risking hooking somebody or anything like that. So they're in a real good position.
Yeah, so it looks like, and I was going to say it looks like everybody's kind of staying double file here, but actually see one jumping to the top, trying to catch the car number. Okay, that's the 8 of Duke Conrad. And we mentioned Dude was one of those drivers that started in the back in the 21st position. Looks like he's decided he wants to try to see if he can make some ground up on this top side. Like you mentioned, I think a lot of these drivers are just trying to save some fuel here. So we'll wait and see if he's going to get some help, and sure enough, he does with that 39 of Jimmy Crow. Jimmy started in the 19th position, so those two cars team up together here. And honestly, I think this is where you're going to start seeing that third line start to form. But as I say that, though, you see that 6 of Bud Steele and the 78 of Nicholas Winnock kind of, I say they're kind of moving up a little bit. It looks like they're kind of taking that spot away from him.
Yeah, they're not really sure where they want to go right now. Everybody's moving around. Looks like the middle line keeps falling apart, and then they gather it back up, back stretch and then tri-oval. But everybody just trying to find a little speed and a little ground to go.
Yeah, so that middle line's completely breaking up now. Nicholas Winnock on the outside completely or in the middle, I should say, completely by himself. I was going to say, I think that 23, Brandon Pasalaco's teammate, might come to try to pick him up, help him out a little bit. And sure enough, he does jump in there and try to see if he can help that momentum for his teammate. Which I was saying, actually, that 78 car is not doing that bad being in the middle like he is right now, because you got those 4 pretty grouped up tightly on the outside of him, and they haven't been able to gain a ton of ground on him, despite him being kind of on his own there for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of just maintaining the same pace. Looks like the number 8 of Duke Conrad jumped down in that middle line, going to try to make something happen.
Yeah, so he was able to clear the 78. He's going to jump down low. So he kind of left out his drafting partner there for now. That, again, that's the 39 there of Jimmy Crow, but he's going to fall in behind them. So say now the second groove or the middle groove is basically the outside line, and then right behind him you've got that 71 of Mitchell Wilkes. Say Mitchell hasn't run too much recently, so glad to see him back on track here. Usually it's his son Chad Wilkes that's been racing on the Thursday series, so cool to see Dad getting in all the action. So say right now he is running in the 13th position.
Coming down the backstretch, the top line, they're making a lot of ground, and Duke Conrad's going to be challenging for the lead here very shortly.
Yeah, it's amazing just getting the right group together and kind of getting that push you need. So like you said, Duke Conrad from 21st now to pretty much fighting for second right now. And like you said, probably about to go for the lead here coming through the tri-oval. And sure enough, has a nose ahead as they come through the tri-oval here.
Yeah, getting great pushes off the side. He kind of shot off his nose a little bit. So he'll have to gather the line back up. But great pushes off the 78 there, down the back push.
Oh, big wiggle there. Yeah, as I think got a little push off center there. Really quick hands able to gather back up. And I'm saying that's the risk of that 78 and they are not teammates, so say they may not be as familiar drafting with each other as some of these other drivers. And so that's the thing is you kind of know what to expect from some of the other guys you work with, but the 8 and 78, they may not have worked together too much, so maybe the 78 may have thought the 8 was going to do something a little different and just misjudged his push there, and could have been very big there up front, but luckily, again, quick hands on that 8 car.
Yeah, this isn't Charlotte. You come off of, say, turn 2 at Charlotte, and you get a little wobble, like, pretty certain most of the time you're able to gather it back up. But here, it's a lot different because the wobble is somebody push on your bumper, and you don't know if they're going to lift or hit the brakes or just keep shoving through you.
Yeah, you're kind of at the mercy of those around you. So you can. I'm sure if we were watching the 78, if we could have saw a throttle trace, I'm sure you would have seen either, like you said, the brake drag a little bit or just lift off a little bit. But now you see the 78 jump to the top. Not sure if that was a move to try and make a pass or by necessity, because he was pushing that 8 car pretty hard there. I have a feeling he was probably getting pretty hot. So I think that's probably why he jumped to the top there to try to get some cool air back on that car. Because, again, that's one thing we haven't really mentioned either is if you push for too long and too aggressively, your oil temps are going to be skyrocketing, and it won't take too long before that motor is going to pretty much be done for the evening. Yeah,
absolutely. He had to poke high there to get some air, and Brandon Pasalaco in the 23 car took advantage of it. He's going to get up there and see what he can do to push to the front.
Yeah, and I say if it was me in that 78 car, say after that, giving the 8 the push and seeing that bobble that he had, I'd be kind of in that same mindset. I was like, I'm gonna ride here just a little bit. Say that was a bit big. I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming around to take the flag for lap 12, still super early in the race, about halfway through this fuel run.
Yeah, so actually that's a perfect thing to mention. So we'll jump around a little bit. So I haven't mentioned a few drivers here. So one of those being the 79 of Ted Decker Jr. He's in that Oklahoma Sooners car there, that red and white machine. Ted's up into the 9th position, started 18th, so also a good start for him. He's right behind Mitchell Wilkes, we mentioned earlier, in that 71 car, so a great start for them. I say up front, things holding pretty steady. So you see Eric Laurie there on the inside line. He was one of those guys that started up front from the get-go. Another one that we haven't mentioned yet, who's part of that group though as well, is that 03 Kevin Hash. He's in that black 03 car right there going by your screen. So he's right now in the 12th position. And then I say I'm not sure if it's a new member or not, maybe to this series though, Rob Malone in the 52 Caterpillar car, right now running in the 13th position. So say Rob right now, kind of just right now holding on to the back of this main draft right here. Saying this is, to me, this is kind of the ideal spot you want to be, where you're still in that main lead draft, but not too far off where you kind of feel like you need to kind of push a little bit too hard to try to regroup here. As you see, like where Charles Johnson is there, Dale, it's like, I mean, he's not losing draft by any means, but he's gonna have that foot to the floor to try to regain the track position that he's off right now.
Yeah, and as you're watching at times, he's definitely gaining a lot on Rob Mellon, so I'm sure he's flat on the floor. But what he's doing is he's able to drag everybody behind him with him, and the 6 is obviously not have to use nearly as much fuel to catch up to the pack.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I still think, like I mentioned earlier, the 89 of Matt Quick being that 4th car on the inside line. The inside line, there's usually a lot of checkup in that inside line, and that's where you're able to really save a lot of fuel. You kind of just roll out of the gas a little bit, save some fuel, and then you're good to go again. So I think that's what we're probably seeing from those guys. Oh, actually, I see that 78 Nicholas Winook, he is bouncing off the wall a little bit. Oh, he's heavy in the inside wall. Unfortunately for him, it looks like we're going to stay green. I think it was far enough away from the pack for not to bring out a yellow. Go back and see what happened at 78. So I saw him falling to the back there. I'm not sure if maybe it's a connection issue or not. Oh, actually, no, it looks like he just caught the wall out of turn 2 while just really tucked up tight on his teammate. Yeah, just catches the wall off of 2. And then, like you mentioned, just kind of has that moment that where it just kind of starts bouncing around a little bit. Then comes right across the path of a couple of cars. Great job avoiding that by the 47 of Dalton Hayes. I think he might be able to hang on to the draft there as well. You can see a 78 hitting the outside wall, or the inside wall there, I should say. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not a good run there for him. So let me get things settled back in here. But I'm trying to find where. So I see a couple of connection issues with that 47. Looks like he actually is still in the draft, so Dalton Hayes not out of it yet, so that's good for him. And while that was all going on, Dale, here comes the 8 again, this time with the new helper, the 39 again of Jimmy Crow.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to really matter to Bud who's behind him. He's going to stay up on that top line and just hanging right there next to Kevin Freese the whole way. Everybody's pushing on Bud, trying to get him by. He just hasn't been able to do it yet.
Yeah, I see a couple cars with a little bit of connection hiccups right now. I saw the 79 Ted Decker Jr. kind of blinking a bit. Earlier we saw the 47 Dalton Hayes also having some connection hiccups. So hopefully those things settle out, because if you're that 23 Brandon Pastelacqua right now behind that car, you don't want to get any closer to him, because you just don't know what's going to happen. So hopefully that clears up though for Ted. That way he can stay in contention here and not have to worry about that connection that he's got right now.
Yeah, and it puts Brandon in a real bad position, because he's got cars underneath him. He can't move the low line. And he's the last car in that pack, so they cannot drive around him. He's kind of in a real bad position where he's just going to have to ride back behind Ted Decker and wait.
Yeah, so it looks like, it's still not getting any better, unfortunately. So we'll jump around just a little bit. Not too far away from the pit stop cycle. Looks like actually now the 9's also having some hiccups as well there. Charles Johnson. I'm not sure if there's something going on connection-wise throughout the U.S. or not, but behind him, though, is that 6 of Bud Steele. Bud right now is in the 14th position. One driver we hadn't mentioned right behind him is that 55 of Dean Wilkinson. I'll be a little biased, I'm sure, but that's a pretty cool-looking Area 51 paint scheme that he's got on that car. So giving a really good run here so far tonight. And right behind him, the 68 of Mark Brown in that Gatorade Zero, I believe it is. Yep, Gatorade Zero machine. I'll say, but yeah, these guys I'm sure are getting very distracted by these connection issues from those guys up in front of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with the top line, but they got a huge run, able to bring Dude Conrad, Jimmy Crow, and Mitchell Wilkes down to the bottom line in front of Kevin Freese.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I think at this point in this run, you're not going to see anything change here. I think they're all going to stay locked in line like they are right here because, again, we mentioned that pit window. They're going to be pitting here in probably about 7 laps or so, possibly even 6. We'll have to wait and see on that one. So, yeah, so like you said, though, Dude Conrad now getting to the front. So, say these top 4 drivers, top 3 drivers, I should say, started in 21st, 19th, and 17th. So, again, just shows what these plate tracks can. You just get the right draft with somebody and you're just go right to the front.
Yeah, not a horrible deal for Kevin either. You know, he's pretty much been leading the whole time, and when you're in that the front car in the draft, you have to keep your foot on the floor. So he's not been able to save it. Now he can kind of ride back here. Not going to be able to save a whole bunch, but he's definitely going to be able to save a little.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. This will be a great opportunity for Kevin to try to save as much fuel as he possibly can. I was saying behind, I was mentioning the 68 car, so right behind him is that 3 of Cody Brown. Do not know if there's any relation. I say we'll have to check on that in the future. Then saying right behind him the 10 of Corey Lang. Corey right now showing in the 18th position. Jack Wall's right behind him in 19th. I think Jack again just biding his time, just kind of waiting till it's really time to go after it. Then behind him, the 00 of Thomas Holder. So he is in that white machine there. Let's get a better angle. There he is. Try to see who else we got hiding in there. I think I see Paul Fletcher showing as the 82, but in the car showing the 98 paint scheme. So not a big deal there. We know who's who. Then we have Eugene Vernon there in the 001. And then we mentioned there the 57 of Brian Pierce. Still got Dalton Hayes right with him, so they were able to hang on to the draft. So good luck or good break for those guys not getting caught out on that one. And again, really great avoidance also by Dalton Hayes to avoid the that 78 Nicholas Winnock, which unfortunately looks like he has retired from the event. Say after that contact. So it's a shame. Saying it's also going to for sure hurt Brandon Passalacqua because those two are teammates. So you know that Brandon's hoping to have that wingman to help him out, or vice versa, be able to try to help Nicholas get up to the front towards the end.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's a tough break for both Nicholas Winnock and Brandon Passalacqua, especially this early on. You know.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's there's no good way for that. It's like you kind of like, well, at least it was early. That way they didn't race the whole race and then have something happen at the end. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but you never want that to happen either. So. But yeah, so you see up front, I would say we pretty much got a yellow line train here. So usually in the Cup Series, we'll see them do it up against the wall. They talk about how it keeps the momentum up and everything like that. But with iRacing, say you want to run that inside line, of course, run the shorter distance, use a little bit less fuel. So I think everybody right now is just pretty much getting settled in here, getting ready for that first pit stop, like you mentioned. Say probably about 3 more laps or so, 2 to 3 more laps for the first group. And then it's just going to be see who staggers when, because everybody's going to probably have different ideas of how far they can stretch it and what's the best approach to do that in.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. You know, like if I'm in this race and I'm going to try to stretch it longer, like I know when the fuel window is, I'm trying to move maybe to the top side if I'm going to get a few more laps and maybe get a train going up there. But everybody's lined up on the bottom, which kind of leads me to believe that there's going to be a lot of people trying to hit pit road at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's either that or possibly maybe there's going to be they're just going to wait until like that lap that people start calling in that they're going to pit, or because nobody's going to pit early if they can avoid it. So I don't think we'll see anybody come this time, for instance, but maybe next time by we might see someone jump up to the top. It's just all really dependent on who has what on the fuel side of things. Like I said, usually it's been Matt Quick, Raymond Rittenauer. They've been kind of the fuel savers where they can go extra long. However, I think Raymond was one of the pushers early on, so he may not have quite as much. So it's going to be curious to see who's able to stretch it how much, and then and then of course how much further they can go than the others.
Yeah, like you're saying, Raymond was pushing Kevin Freese real early on. You got Dude Conrad up front right now has been kind of leading one of the two lines since about lap 5. So definitely not saved a whole lot of fuel. Kevin's not been able to save fuel. Uh,
Yeah, I'm
there's
suspecting.
a lot of guys in the back.
Oh, no, you're good. Sorry, I was going to say, I'm suspecting we're going to see pit stops this time, and I think that's what we see right now. You see Gabe Butler. He's jumping to the top, so I'm willing to bet you're going to see the 8 of Dude Conrad. He's going to hit the pits. There they go. So you got, looks like 6 or so coming in now. Like everybody's doing a pretty good job of getting it down to speed. To say it looks like everybody's gotten through pretty cleanly there. That's kind of job number 1, if you will. And so now, though, that's going to change things up. And now we mentioned, you saw the 1 jump to the top of Gabe Butler. So now you got those guys on the inside line. Gabe Butler, Raymond Rittenauer, Matt Quick. You got Brandon Pasalacqua with Kevin Hash and Rob Malone all right there in that top 6 group. So now the question is, are they all going to pit this time, you think? Or you think anybody's going to be able to stretch it 1 more further?
I mean, there's a lot of guys who would like to stretch it, 1 or 2 more laps. But realistically, I don't think a lot of people have enough fuel to do that. And if you can, the risk is that you're out there by yourself. Like we see, it looks like 3 cars staying on the track. It's going to be 4 as somebody missed the commitment code.
Oh, yeah, it was the 3 misses entry. He said he had to jump around there. So, yeah, so say that's Matt Quick again. To say we've talked about Matt being one of those drivers that likes to try to do this long-run gamble on the first pit stop. And so he's doing it again. Say this time he's got help from Kevin Hash. And you can see Kevin is trying to push him as aggressively as possible here down the backstretch. But the other thing they got going from Dale is you can see they're starting to catch some drivers that have just exited the pit. So he's going to be picking up the draft from Mark Brown here in that 68 car. Say the only snag is he's going to have to try to get around him before he makes that pit stop entry. But actually Mark's going to jump to the top. So really respectable move from the 68 here. So now we're going to for sure see those 2. And yep, here they come. Also saw the 10 of Corey Lane just a little further back. So say these 3 drivers going to hit their pits right now. Oh, looks like an aggressive entry there for that 10 car. Hopefully he's able to get it down to speed in time.
Yeah, we talked about Cody Brown missing entry on his last time by. He's coming down now, but he's so far back from everybody else. He's going to come out. I don't see how he stays on the lead lap, and it's just one of them things. You're coming off the corner so fast, and you have to get down to pit speed. Everybody's trying to do it at the same time. You run out of room, and sometimes you get caught short, and that's exactly what happened to Cody Brown.
Yeah, it looks like those 3 actually did a really good job exiting all together here. So you saw Matt Quick there just jump out of the pits in the 89 car. He's got a little bit of a gap over the 03 of Kevin Hash and the 10 of Corey Lane. So now the question is going to be, we're going to watch from the gearbox of this 89 car because here come the leaders with the full head of steam. But I think if Matt might be able to tag onto this little second group here. Oh, actually, as I said, that Ted Decker Jr. there. So he was actually trying to make a pass as he was exiting the pit, so things got really dicey there.
Yeah, kind of wondering what happened with Brian Pierce. I know when he first entered, he slid through the box, had to put it in reverse, but he's going to lose another lap.
Yeah, he's just leaving the pits again now. Like I said, he's going to go 2 down, it looks like. Looks like Ted Decker Jr., he also wound up going 1 down. So unfortunately, just sometimes that's going to some of those things that you kind of run into at these plate races. Say those pit stop miscues really messes things up. So right now, though, unfortunately, that fuel saving that the 89 was doing there, he's going to have it all to do here, though. So you see that 03 Kevin Hash is pretty much just locked on here. They're going to pretty much, I think, at this point, try to tandem draft. They'll be able to steal a little bit of draft from that 57 of Brian Pierce, though. For just a moment at least. So now the question is, can they close that gap up to that 23 Brandon Pasalacqua? It's about, what's that look like? Looks like a second and a tenth or so. So I'm going to watch their lap times next time around and see what their laps are compared to each other. Up front, though, Dude Conrad, though, he's still holding on to the lead after that pit stop cycle.
Yeah, about 7/10 is when you start to feel the draft. And it looks like Matt Quick's making that ground up. They're down to, it's bouncing between 9/10 and 1 second behind. So they're definitely making a little bit of ground up.
Oh, yeah, no, that last time by, they gained a ton there. He ran a 47.2 to the leader's 47.6, so about 0.4 of a second. So, yeah, they're doing exactly what they need to do to close that gap up there in that number 89 car. Because, that's going to be critical. Again, though, this is going to be burning up more fuel for them. However, he's got the 2 extra laps to play with. So I was saying, I think that's what we'll see from him in that 89 machine is once he gets to them, think that's when you'll see him go right back into that fuel save mode, which you can see he's pretty much there at this point. So that 03 and the 89, really good teamwork by those two to be able to push back up into this lead pack.
Absolutely, they're going to get up there, and yeah, you see him. It almost looked like he hit the brakes once he got to the rear of the pack there. Didn't want to jump high and go around him, just wanted to ride and continue on with that fuel saving strategy.
Yep, yeah, I think he's going to save as much fuel as he can here again, because that way on the last stop he can take maybe a little bit less fuel than the others, or at least that way he can also try to see if he can have a slightly quicker pit stop as well. So we'll see how it's going to pan out here. So we see those. So pretty much we got the top 10 all bunched together right now. And so the next group to try to make this gap closed up is that 10 of Corey Lane. He's got the 79 of Ted Decker Jr. in front of him. But he's got a little bit of help here with the 9 of Charles Johnson, the 6 of Bud Steele. Again, unfortunately, you see Charles having some more connection hiccups, keeps disappearing there. However, I think they're going to catch this group as well. So I think we're going to have about 13 cars in this lead pack here once everything's all said and done. And then unfortunately, there's going to be a second group a little further back here, starting with this 55 here, Dean Wilkinson. They're about 5 seconds off the lead. Say they've got a couple cars coming up behind them here that'll definitely pick up their kind of the car counts, if you will. But that's going to be a tough gap to close, because right now they're about 2.5 or so. Actually, let's say about 3 seconds, I should say, off of those guys in front of them, like that 6 of Bud Steele.
I don't know if they're going to be able to catch up to the leaders. Going back to the 89 of Matt Quick and the 3 of Kevin or 03 of Kevin Hash, when they was catching up to the pack, they actually set the fastest times of the race, 46.841 and a 46.898. So both those drivers definitely have the speed to get up there and win this thing. Just have to ride back here, keeping on strategy. But just those 2 very quick times kind of proves that they're definitely have a good shot.
Yeah, so say right now the drivers that pitted last under that caution are Matt Quick, Kevin Hash, Corey Lane. Those 3 pitted 2 laps later than our race leaders right now. Gabe Butler, Raymond Rittenauer, Brendan Pasalaco, they pitted 1 lap later than the front group. So everybody's on about a 2-lap cycle difference of fuel, which could come into play here. Because one thing we didn't mention, Dale, also is while both tracks are super speedways and both have the same amount of fuel and lap counts and all that, Daytona's a 2.5-mile track. Talladega's a 2.66 mile track. So that extra 0.15 distance there, I mean, that can play a role in things.
Oh, absolutely. Like we talked about the start finish line being moved further down the track. Like that's a big deal when you come off a Ford and you're sputtering.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you sputter at one place in Daytona, you'll coast the line without any problem. You sputter that same place at Talladega, you're going to be losing a lot more than that. So looking at lap times, say I was talking about that group that was a little bit further back, led by Dean Wilkinson. He is showing, last time by they ran a 47.9 compared to leaders 47.6. So only 0.3 of a second slower. So I mean, not terrible by any means, but they're definitely going to need to try to be a little more aggressive to try to close that gap.
I'm not sure if Mark Brown is across the draft on accident, or if he's slowing down to pick up Cody Brown. But he's out here by himself, as is Cody.
Oh yeah, you're right. So he's off on his own there. So you got 3 kind of all off on their own right now. That 68, the 3, and then the 001. Say Mark right now in the 20th position. Cody's in 21st there, and then not too far behind him, the 001 of Eugene Vernon. But yeah, like I said, with that though, they're all running about 3 seconds a lap slower than the leader. So it's not going to take too long before that lead pack gobbles them up.
Yeah, and dude Conrad showing, he's coming up on Eugene Vernon. It's just going to be here a short few laps. They'll put Eugene a lap down.
Yeah, so it's just unfortunate that some of those things that happen at these tracks, to say you miss your pit stop or something goes not quite to plan, and it just bites you hard, and it's just at that point, unfortunately, you just have to root for a yellow to get yourself back in contention. So the only thing they have going for them though, if you are some of those guys, basically if you're Eugene, you want to try to tag on to the lead pack draft as soon as they catch you and pass you, because the fight's going to be that first car 1 lap down. So you kind of want to try to tag into that group and then try to see if you can stay as far forward in that lead pack as possible. That way when the leaders then catch the next group of cars like the 3 and the 68, the hope is that you'll be ahead of them in case of a caution, and that way you'll be that driver that's going to get that wave around.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's going to be a very, very large speed difference between this big draft pack and a single car out here, which we're going to see momentarily. So you got to be very, very careful. Get out of the way, but then get back down behind them as quick as you can.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You just got to time it as best you can. So luckily here at Talladega, I think they're mostly running single file. There's a little bit of double file further back there with the 6 of Bud Steele. He's trying to get the 10 of Corey Lane. It looks like to work with him. Charles Johnson looks like he's going to join the party. It's like Charles's. I was about to say, it looks like Charles' connection settled back in, but starting to blink again, unfortunately. So say those two are trying to push to the front here. Again, Corey is one of those drivers that pitted 2 laps later than the lead drivers right now. So he probably does have some fuel to spare in that number 10 car, so he can definitely get away with shoving around this 6 car for a little while. And then Bud also was one of those ones that pitted 1 lap later than then Duke Conrad, Kevin Freese, Eric Laurie, and Jimmy Crow. So, and as you say that though, here comes the leaders coming around that 001 and Eugene Verdon.
Incredible difference in speed as the whole pack's pretty much going to get around you before they exit the corner.
Yeah, so and you see right here that you see the 001, but then right at the very back of that group there, you see that yellow and red, or the red and white car. That's Ted Decker Jr. So this is the lucky dog battle right now. So should a caution come out right now, Ted's just got the nose ahead. So that's what they got to start thinking about, is where you can try to get yourself filed back in here. So say Eugene did a good job. Looks like he's going to hang on to the draft, which is extremely crucial, obviously. But then for Ted now it's going to be kind of the battle between those two, trying to see who's going to be able to be in front of the other, just in case of the yellow. But let's say these guys looking like they're holding a pretty good green flag run look for them at the moment. But again, here at these plate tracks, let's say things changing so quick that you never know.
Yeah, and another thing about this too for Eugene is Charles Johnson and the 79 are both having some connection issues, so he's not in the greatest position.
Yeah, you definitely do not feel comfortable, and you're kind of in that little group there where it's like you see the blinking, everything. It's like, oh man, this is not helping our cause out here. I'm saying still watching the intervals. Also, I say don't want to ignore Dean Wilkinson and company on from about 14th on back. They're still running pretty decent lap times. So you can see Jack Wall is doing everything he can to help push that 55 car. They've been running about 47.7s to leaders 47.4, so they're still about 0.3 or so off a lap. But I think that last time by too, I think they shuffled their running order a little bit because I'm watching Jack here and he's being a really good pusher here. So I'm going to wait once they cross the line again. I want to see what their lap times look like because I have a feeling that they might be trying to reorganize and see who's kind of the best combo. But that being said, though, back up front though, Bud Steele, he's got some more helpers now. He's now got the 23 Brendan Pasalacqua, and they are side by side here for the lead.
Yeah, you got three guys up top. All 3 of them are very comfortable with each other. We've seen it in the past. Great pushers. As 2 more, it looks like 2 more cars are joining that pack. They see the top line forming up, and they're moving forward. They want to be a part of the 79 and the 9.
Yeah, say Charles Johnson the 9, and then the 79 Ted Decker Jr. They're going to jump up as well. I'll say Ted's got to be a little careful here, but I think he had to make that call because he's probably thinking if I stay in the bottom, Eugene Verdon, he's going to go up top. So he's going to try the top side, but actually I don't think he got quite close enough to grab the toe very well because right now he's actually starting to fall back just a little bit, and so that's going to put him in danger of losing that spot to the 001.
Yeah, and that's not what he wants to see, obviously, as they're side by side. He's going to have to drop behind 001, take that position, and probably just ride there because he's not going to have any help to get back around him.
Yeah, I say now he's going to add 1 more to the mix. So here comes that 68 of Mark Brown. They're coming up on him with a big head of steam. So I say again, you see Mark, he's going to jump to the top. And I say if I'm Mark, I say again, you have to be careful about how aggressive you want to be, but it's probably tempting for him to try to sneak in right behind that number 9 of Charles Johnson. Again, it's a little nerve-wracking to do because you see that connection issue that he's got going on. But actually, sure enough, he's going to stay up top and not risk it. So again, just the respect these guys give each other. So say Mark's going to try to hopefully fall in right here though behind those guys, and then that way they say we're pretty much have a 3-car battle here to try to be that first car 1 lap down.
Yeah, I kind of missed when it happened, but it looks like Cody Brown is retired from the race.
Yeah, I saw Cody duck into the pits once the leaders caught up to him. I wasn't sure if he was just going to maybe try to do something a little differently, but yeah, I guess he kind of wound up calling it a night. So unfortunately, the 3 of Cody Brown has retired from the race as well. So right now we still have 19 of the 25 on the lead lap, and then 23 of the 25 still in the race here, with Mark Brown, Ted Decker Jr., Eugene Vernon all 1 lap down at the moment. And then, as I see a little bobble there. Actually, I say, while we've been talking about all this, I wasn't even paying attention. The 6 of Bud Steele, he was able to get that push that he needed there from the 10 and the 23. So we have a new race leader up front.
Yeah, Bud Steele challenged Dude Conrad for the lead at top line, and they formed up just a couple cars and were able to go. And as that's happening, Corey Lane's still up there, and he's making a push.
Yeah, let's see. Brandon can get both of them to the front as well. I don't know. I mean, I think this actually could be a blessing in disguise, personally, if I'm Dude Conrad, because you've been leading this whole time. You were the first to pit the first time around. You're leading that whole time around. You're going to be the first to pit again, probably this next time by. At some point, you're going to have to try to save some fuel, but that 8 car looks like he's still on full send mode right now.
Yeah, I don't know that many drivers can. If they pit it on 24, I don't know that many of them are going to be able to make it to lap 51. I think that pitting at lap 24 kind of puts you a little bit behind the 8 ball, so they're going to have to figure something out.
Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye and see what's going to happen. But again, you can see Dude's not just falling back and riding. He's definitely giving that 6 of Bud Steele a pretty good push here down the back. I think possibly also trying to keep that 10 and 23 away from possibly trying to jump in front of them as well. So I'm saying it's one of those things you kind of, there's times you got to work with your competitors, if you will, to try to make sure that you don't lose those spots. So I'd say pretty cool angle off the back of this 6 of Bud Steele, so you can see Dude behind the wheel. You can actually see his nameplate on his helmet and everything as well. So I'd say Dude doing definitely pushing aggressively on the 6 car. You just got to make sure he doesn't get that car too hot.
Yeah, coming up within the next 3 to 5 laps, we're going to see most of the drivers come down pit lane, and I'll make an exception there for the 89 of Matt Quick and the 03 of Kevin Hash. There's no telling what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how much further those two can go. I would say include the 10 of Corey Lane, but I'd say Corey's been pushing a bunch in this run and then now leading that top group, so he's probably losing some of the advantage that he had. I think for now, probably the 10 of Corey Lane, he could probably go 1 lap longer than the leaders, but I don't think he probably has that 2-lap buffer like he had before, though.
Yeah, I think he, obviously his plan was to get out front and lead some of this. Them being the only 2 cars, the 10 and then Brandon Pastelacco pushing, they're not gaining any more ground. They're kind of falling back.
Yes, I think you need just a couple more cars to really help it out. But I think what's also going on, though, too, is you can see, again, that 8 is just giving the 6 just all that he can handle right now with those pushes down the back. I think that's really been propelling them back further forward as well, because I say they're just so locked onto each other. It's hard to gain that momentum when you're also having to run that longer distance and you have less cars in your drafting group. So Dude is definitely doing a really great job of pushing that 6 of Bud Steele here. And
the 25 of Kevin Freeze has to be loving it. He's just sitting back here, watching ride and not having to even be all the way on the throttle. So he's able to save some fuel, not really having to work too hard.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So he's able to save a little bit of extra fuel. So I'm trying to see who's the longest on the. Yeah, so the drivers that pitted that first time under the first pit stop was the 8 of Dude Conrad, the 25 of Kevin Freeze, the 071 of Eric Laurie. Who am I missing in that list? Jimmy Crow in 39, and the 71 of Mitchell Wilkes. And then, like I mentioned, the second group that pitted there was Bud Steele, Gabe Butler, Raymond Rittenauer, and I believe Charles Johnson are those of that lead pack here. Oh, and Brandon Pastelacco. I don't know if I mentioned him. Sorry. So I think window's going to be opening here pretty soon. If not this time, for sure, I think next time, though, Dale.
Yeah, and coming in, that's barely going to give them enough to make it to the end if it stays green.
Yeah, I don't even know if it will, honestly. I feel like they still might have to actually pit for a splash if it goes the way it is right now, unless they start saving up on the last run, which, I mean, I guess you could do that, but I feel like if you're going to save to go to the end, you want to do it earlier. So it looks like, okay, so everybody's going to stay out here. So well, actually, that being said, though, we're still at 20. This would be coming to 27 to go. So that actually does make sense that they don't pit this time. It would probably be this next time around where they'd be coming to lap 50. But like you said, though, I mean, that's still 26 to go if they pit this time around here.
Yeah. Waiting for the 10 and the 23 to start making their way to the bottom. I mean, the 10 of Corey Lane, he pitted on lap 26. The 23 pitted on lap 25. But they've been up there by themselves pushing, so they're definitely burning a lot of fuel. I'm kind of wondering when they're going to try to get to the bottom of them.
Yeah, I think they're hoping that they can go one more than the guys underneath them here. So I think, yep, here comes at least one. All right, so we got about 5 of them. It looks like pretty much the same group. It looks like actually Bud Steele's going to join this pit party as well here. You see them all trying to get it locked down. Oh, you see Eugene Vernon, oh, actually contacted Mark Brown as well. Or no, it wasn't Mark Brown, I'm sorry. A little bit of pit entry contact, though, there. So yeah, so that's going to be most of our leaders here. So now let's jump back up front. So say that was what Corey Lane, Brandon Pasalacqua, that's what they wanted to see because now they've got control of this race. So right now you've got the looks like top 11 have stayed out. And then we've got 7 drivers here on this lead pack right now. So we'll see. I don't know. Do you think that 10 and the 89er, or sorry, do you think the 03 and the 89 are going to try to stretch that one extra lap like they did last time?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, we know they have the extra fuel to go, and it looks like they are staying out with.
Oh wow, actually more stayed out than I would have thought here.
Yeah, it's a total of 5, and I'm actually surprised to see the 10 still out there running because he ran that top line for so long, just burning fuel and distance alone, and not having any help in front of him.
Yeah, so I think the 10 was one of the last pitters as well, so I think he did actually stay out longer. He stayed out, yeah, he was actually in the same group with the 89 and the 03, and I can see the 89, I see him kind of peeking up to the top, so I think Matt Quick and Kevin Hash, I think I see them possibly going another lap here. Yeah, I see him jump to the top here. I think these top 3, they're going to pit, and then that's going to leave Matt Quick and the 03 Kevin Hash, I think they're going to keep going.
Yeah, Corey Lane, hand out the window. He's definitely taking pit as well as the 2 behind him, leaving Matt Quick and Kevin Hash to lead a couple more laps.
Oh, big wiggle from the 10 Corey Lane. Looks like he hung on to it, though. So, yeah, so that's going to leave it now up to Matt Quick and Kevin Hash. They're going to go stretch this fuel again. And say, again, I think they're going to be hoping that they have that same plan as before. Say if they can try to stay locked onto each other, steal some draft to some of these guys exiting the pits. That's going to be critical for them to try to maximize, maximize their pit stops, but also minimize any time losses. They're going to have to jump around the outside of that 55 of Dean Wilkinson. They are able to do so here. So now the question is, do they need to pit this time, or can they go even one more? I feel like this is probably the time to do it now, as you don't have any help behind you. And yeah, sure enough, here they come. They duck off, and they're going to hit the pits here.
Another thing to mention, it's a lot easier to make it down pit lane with 2 cars as opposed to 12. You know, the entrance gets very, very narrow, and as we've seen with the 10, you know, you lock them down and the car gets sideways. You lose a lot of time in that alone.
And actually, I see a lot of drivers actually still sitting in the pit, so I think a few of the drivers got busted there. I think the 1 of Gabe Butler may have got caught speeding, as well as the 10 of Corey Lane. You see him leaving the pit now. So yeah, I think there's some pit penalties there possibly. So now we're waiting for that 89 and the 03, and you can see perfectly they come out right together. They're like pretty much right on cue. So again, so these 2 are going to be the leaders coming out of the pits. So now it's going to be all about their exit. You can see they're working really well together on the pit exit. And I think they're going to be able to get back up to speed before they get caught by this lead draft, which is a big group here. Looks like it's got Raymond Renner is just ahead of them. But then you've got Bud Steele, Kevin Freeze, Dude Conrad, Eric Laurie's in that group, Jimmy Crow, Brandon Pasalacqua, Mitchell Wilkes, and Charles Johnson, I think, are all part of that group. So you can see Matt's getting all the push he can get right now from the 03 of Kevin Hash, just trying to see if they can build that speed up before this lead pack catches them up.
Yeah, it actually worked out way better for him this time than it did last time. And last time I thought last pit stop I thought it worked flawlessly. You know, they were the fastest 2 cars on the track catching the main draft, and they were able to ride back there and stretch it out a couple more laps. But now, they're up to speed, running 197 ahead of the lead draft.
Yeah, so that lead pack's about second and 3/10 behind them right now. So say, see just how good of a job these two are working together. And so the other thing that they're going to be doing here is with them running like this, I mean, this is forcing these guys behind them. I mean, they're having to use more fuel to try to chase them back down. So they can't just sit back and ride, because otherwise they're going to let them get away. So, and I think that's what you see right here. You saw Bud Steele. He didn't try to pass the 87 Raymond Rittenauer. He decided to ride in behind him. So I think what they're thinking is like, hey, we're probably pretty tight on fuel here. We need to keep saving. So I'm not going to pass him and be that leader. I want to follow and try to save some fuel. So I think we're going to probably see this group that pitted that first time around. I kind of think we might see them do some follow the leader here until they get to their fuel, kind of get their fuel number where they can then get going from there.
Yeah, not really catching them super fast. And the main group's got some big holes in it as well. You see somebody has a connection issue back there. I believe that's the 9. They're going to ride back there and just save fuel. They know Matt Quick and Kevin Hash can make it till the end.
Yeah, so this is where if you're the 89.03, and I mean, I feel like at this point you guys have worked together so much this race. So I feel like you need to try to stick together if you can. You've got 3 of your teammates there right together, the 89.03 and the 87. And then then you got some of these other guys, also teammates there, just a little bit further back. Gabe Butler, unfortunately, like you mentioned, is 1 lap down due to that pit penalty that he had. But he's going to be in this lead pack because it kind of looks like trying to be maybe the what do you want to call it, like the lead blocker or the draft blocker, if you will, the air blocker, to help these other guys behind him save some fuel. But like I mentioned, though, behind them, though, again, we talked about all the teammates. So you've got that 10-25 of Kevin Freeze, Duke Conrad, Eric Laurie, Charles Johnson, Jimmy Crow. They're all teammates. So, I mean, you've got a big group of guys right here. So pretty much Bud Steele's kind of the odd man out right now of this top, the top 9 cars right now.
Yeah, you mentioned they're all teammates, but one thing they all love is to win. So once we get down, 1 or 2 to go, it's really going to shake up. That I promise.
Oh yeah, definitely. That is definitely something we'll see happen. I'll say, unfortunately, I believe it was the first race where Matt Quick had this perfect strategy as well. Kind of got picked on at the end of the race and didn't wind up getting the win there. So I think he's definitely going to hope that he doesn't have that happen again. I was able to hold on to the win last week when that similar situation was happening, but it's like I mentioned, he's been in contention these the first 2 races. I mean, he's now the last pit stop, he's out in the lead again. He's definitely got enough fuel to make it to the finish as well. So Matt Quick doing everything he needs to do here to put himself in position to get these wins. So he's definitely starting off this season 6 extremely strong in that 89 car.
I feel like a guy like Matt Quick understands these plate races. It's more of a mental challenge than anything. It's knowing when to be aggressive, when to be patient, saving fuel and all that. It's not necessarily about hitting marks every corner. Obviously, no braking points or saving tires. Just understands the mental game, and it's not the easiest thing. I don't want it to sound like it's super easy, because it's not.
No, you're exactly right. It's a very different type of racing. Like you said, like yeah, if you're thinking of like a mile and a half or even a mile track, things like that, yeah, you got to make sure you get your braking points, your lifting points, hit your marks perfectly or as perfectly as you can every lap. But here at Talladega, it's different. Like you said, you need to know exactly how aggressive you can be on the pit entry to maximize your pit entry. On the pit exit, you got to make sure you're not too aggressive on the throttle to risk spinning the tires out there. Because it is a really treacherous pit exit. It's very sketchy. That's kind of the dirtiest part of the track. So definitely does not drive well, especially as you're trying to get up to speed. And then, like you said, just working out the strategy. Do you go balls to the wall from lap 1 to lap 75? Do you kind of pace yourself and save that extra couple laps of fuel to then put yourself in a window where you can make it on this last run, where you can then go full tilt, never lift. Where those guys behind you might be having to breathe the throttle at the end.
Watching this rear pack led by Jack Walls, they're gaining a little bit of time on the leaders.
Oh yeah, you're right. Actually, they're down to about 5.5 seconds. So they're working well together. So you got Jack Walls leading. So say Thomas Holder, you can see him drafting very tightly with them. And we mentioned, unfortunately, at 68, Mark Brown's a lap down, but he's playing a vital role right now in being that third car in that draft, as well as in the 68 car. See the 47 Dalton Hayes also pushing really well. And that's what we talk about, is that if you line up, if you form well, usually if you're the third car in line, that's kind of like the theme that people say is don't push the pusher. But if you can get as close to possible to them without pushing them, it's still going to that air is going to propel you that little bit further forward. So I think that's exactly what you're seeing here. And like you said, I mean, their lap times have been good, a couple tenths quicker lap after lap right now. Again, not quite where they want to be as a whole. So say last time by a 48.0 for Matt Quick and company. This time actually they slowed down a little bit this time, unfortunately, with a 48.2 it looks like. So, but like you said, though, they have been closing that gap just little by little, and that's pretty good with a smaller group of cars as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, even if they maintain being that tenth or two quicker, there's just not enough time at this point. You know, 15 to go, coming down to 14 to go, and 4.5 seconds behind Brandon Pasalacqua.
Yes, and that's the thing, is you don't want to compare their lap time or their distance to the leader. You want to compare how far they are to the next car in line. So right now, it's actually not even the 23, Brandon Pasalacqua. He's got a couple cars behind him. So you could add another couple tenths, I guess you could say. So let's say it's 1.5 from there. So it's probably about what, about 4.5 seconds from Jack Walls to the that 10 of Corey Lane roughly. If you do some bad math like me. But again, that magic number we talked about, though, Dale, it's usually about a second, maybe a second and a half, depending on the draft you have with you. So at that point, though, you need a lot of help. So unfortunately, they're just not quite getting what they need. But yeah, they haven't given up, and they're putting on a really big fight here still.
Yeah, Matt Quick and Kevin Hash still knows the tail out in front. Raymond Rittenauer is making himself shown up there. You know, he was pushing Kevin Freese there at the very beginning, and haven't really seen him up in the top three since. He's back up there now. Yeah,
I think Raymond and Gabe Butler, I think they went full fuel save on that second run. And I say, unfortunately, I believe Gabe got bit by a pit penalty on entry there. So I think what we're seeing here now is I think Raymond's just kind of the same thing. He's just kind of playing the waiting game. I think he's good to go on fuel. I think he's just waiting until it's really time to go after it. He pitted about 2 laps later than Bud Steele, Kevin Freese and company, whereas Matt Quicken then pitted 3 laps. So I believe these top 3 are easily good to go on fuel, possibly even the green-white checkered attempt as well. But again, I feel like those that pitted that first time, like the 6, the 25 and company, I just don't feel as confident about that.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
So you can see, I think again, this is kind of rounding up like it did last time we were here at Daytona Talladega, where it's just kind of it's really just kind of the calm before the storm. These drivers just trying to bide their time, kind of get themselves situated with who wants to be where, figure out who's going to do what kind of moves with each other. Like I mentioned, again, odd man out right now, unfortunately, is that 6 of Bud Steele. I think he's going to have to do. If I'm Bud Steele, I probably just hang to the bottom and just try to push that inside line as best you can, because I think at some point you're going to see that 25 of Kevin Freese most likely jump to the top. And if he does that, I say if you jump to the top, I think he's just going to go higher. So if I'm Bud Steele, I'm thinking, okay, my best chance at a result here is pushing this inside line as far forward as I can, and just see what kind of where things shake out once we get to that checker flag.
Yeah, if you look at the manufacturer arrangement here, you got 3 Chevrolets, and then Bud Steele being the lonely Ford up there, and then pretty much everything behind him down to Jimmy Crow's and Chevrolets. So there's not even no manufacturer. Yeah,
and I'll say pretty much the only cars right now Bud could think about having to help him on the lead lap, I should say, would be Brandon Pasalacqua and Mitchell Wilkes. I think of all the cars right now in this lead draft, which are 11 cars, I think the ones that are not part of that same team are Bud Steele, Mitchell Wilkes, and Brandon Pasalacqua. That's it. So I say you've got pretty much 3 on 11 right now. And that being said, it's apparently go time.
Yeah, Gabe Butler was looking to the top side there and had some help, and somehow he got shuffled all the way to the high line. He's going to follow the back.
Yeah, so which may not be a bad thing if I'm that one car. I mean, you still got to try to stay ahead of the 10 though, unfortunately, to try to get that lucky dog position. But you can see, as they say, they're at 10 to go here, coming to 9 to go. I think those sandbags were released though. And it's go time here. They're going to try to see. I think we're going to see a lot of aggressive drafting now, try to push each other to the front.
Yeah, the roles have kind of reversed here on the top line. You have Raymond Rittenauer being pushed by Kevin Freeze. Raymond pitted last on lap 51, and where's Kevin? Kevin was lap 49, so a little bit of a different strategy there. But, you know, this is how the thing started with these two cars pushing each other.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the next question is anybody going to try to get to the top and maybe try to pull a 3-wide move to try to make some room forward? Again, we talked about those teammates right now. Like you said, unfortunately, Bud Steele, he's still pinned to the bottom, so he can't go anywhere. But if you're don't want to go anywhere right now, as you see, they're coming up in that 98 machine. I believe that was, I was trying to find him on my little ticker here, Paul Fletcher, saying this. I think this is going to put Paul, I think it's actually just going to put Paul 1 lap down. So he's going to, same thing, he's going to try to compete with some of these guys to get his lap back if he can. But yeah, so if I'm at 71 though, Mitchell Wilkes, maybe the 23 Brandon Pasalacqua, if you guys can hook up together, see if you can make that top line work, because I mean it's definitely, I think, your best chance to try to get a win or top 3 here.
Yeah, we know Brandon Pasalacqua was a great pusher, a great leader as far as that goes. So definitely a guy you want to try to get with when you can. Bud Steele, as one hits the.
Oh, dude, Conrad, yeah, caught the apron. Big wiggles there, but you see really good reaction there from Eric Laurie, able to get lifted off there to make sure he didn't make any contact with it. Saying it's getting aggressive up front. I saw a few more bobbles there from the 71 as well. Mitchell Wilkes, I think he was trying to push that 39 of Jimmy Crow. I say one driver I just saw take advantage of that, though, was that 9 of Charles Johnson. He's gotten around those guys. He's jumped to the inside now, the 4th car on the inside. I say he's more invisible than visible at the moment, unfortunately, which is going to actually not be a good thing for this inside line, because nobody's going to want to try to draft close to him because they just won't know where he is.
Well, yeah, you know, not knowing where he is, and as you see, every time he reappears on the track, there's smoke. So if you're back in a pack coming to the corner, you really don't know what that smoke's coming from.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I think we do have a 3-wide move possibly going on the top side. We saw the bobble from the 8. Dude, Conrad, to say that's not going to hesitate, or I should say that's not going to break his hesitation at all. He's going to go back to the top here. He's going to try to go that way. Also see the 39 there, Jimmy Crow. He's trying to work the top side here as well. I say now that he saw that though move, he decided to go to the middle. So now let's say, dude, Conrad going to try to get to the middle here. So I'm thinking he wants to probably try to see if he can lead this top line if he gets the opportunity to.
Yeah, and if I'm the 1 or the 10, you know, I might jump up there and try to help too, because a late race caution could put either one of them in the lucky dog position. You know, you want to be as far forward as you can.
Yeah, so that's the risk versus reward now where these guys are at. So if you're Corey Lane, if you're Gabe Butler, let's say selfishly, yeah, you're hoping for a caution, but at the same time, you don't want to get caught up in it. So you want to be as far forward as you can to be that lucky dog spot, but at the same time, if you're too close to it, you might get caught up in it and lose that possibility. So it's just a really big risk versus reward. As you see, Kevin Freeze able to push Raymond Rittenauer now to the front here. So we've got a new leader controlling this race as we still go 3x3 though, right behind the 87 car. So now we'll see, can Matt Quick maybe shove the 87 a little bit further forward where he can get to that middle or top side. But right now it looks like he's pretty much pinned behind that 89 car here. Or sorry, the 89 car is pinned behind the 87 car.
I'm kind of surprised to see Raymond Rittenauer drop to the bottom and leave Kevin Freezer in the middle. As, you know, they've been glued together for most of the race, so I figured he would wait until Kevin got cleared and then made a move then.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, maybe they weren't able to really clear each other like they wanted to, and it's also possible Kevin was getting hot, so he's like, no, if you're clear, you got to take it, because otherwise my motor's going to pop. So that might be one of those things where it's like, well, I don't really want to be on the bottom, but I also don't want to blow up a teammate's motor, so it's like, well, I guess I have to then.
Yeah, and that's a great way to wreck the field, is that guy, you know, in the middle line. If he grenades an engine, you know, obviously instant loss of power, everybody's going to run into him, and it's going to stack things up real quick.
Yeah, it definitely would end in tears, and it looks like that top line's just about fizzled out, unfortunately. So they tried for all they were worth, but could not make it happen there. So you can see the 39 and the 71, I think, will drop to the bottom here once they're clear. And sure enough, they do that now. But actually, as I say that, though, here comes Bud Steele. He's going to try to lead this top line. I see actually a couple drivers here hitting the pits, it looks like. I see the 82. I'm trying to catch who's there's the drivers hitting the pits there. It's like Paul Fletcher and Brian Pierce hitting the pit road there. But yeah, so now Bud Steele, Charles Johnson, they're going to try to make this top line happen. I'm still side by side up front, though, with Raymond Rittenauer and Kevin Fries as we have 3 there.
Everybody's going to start making move for position. Going to see really, truly who's your friend from here on out.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things, too, where the pushes are going to start getting a little more aggressive. So you might try to clear somebody a little bit more than you would normally. And you're going to try to squeeze that car next to you just a little bit tighter as well. So let's say if I'm Matt Quick, the hope for me, I think if I'm in this position right here is I want to try to push that 87 Raymond Rittenauer as far forward as I can and try to sneak in front of the 825 of Kevin Fries. But right now Kevin's actually getting a big push from Duke Conrad. So let's say 2 to go here. Let's say right now it's really anybody's game. Let's say still Bud Steele's trying to make the top work with Charles Johnson, but again, I think with those connection hiccups, it's just not easy for them to work together like they'd like to. But now I see 2 more jump to the top, though. I see Eric Laurie and Jimmy Crow jump to the top, make it 3 wide.
Yeah, 3 wide. Still wondering if everybody can make it on fuel. I know it's only about a lap and a half here left, but that's quite a bit of distance.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, a lap and a half is still about what 3.5 miles at least. So. We'll have to wait and see. So you see, looks like Bud's decided to get to the middle bottom here. So now it's going to be Eric Laurie on the top with Jimmy Crow pushing him as we're going to get the white flag. So we are going to get to the white flag. So next, basically from here, if there's an incident, they have to race back to line. First one across line is going to be the winner. So right now, say the leaders up front are the 87 Raymond Rittenauer, 25 Kevin Fries, 071 of Eric Laurie are the leaders on their respective grooves here. So what can these drivers do? As you can see, Matt Quick, though, pushing that 87 for all he's worth. You see him coming up on the lap car. He's going to get the apron. Great, respectable move by him. I say, really like to see how these guys race it out here for the finish. Oh, I was going to say, Matt just cleared him. Oh, Kevin jumps to the top, though. It looks like he's not going to stick with him there. I think maybe he wasn't quite cleared enough. Oh, contact between the 83, or the 03 and the 87.
We're going to stack them up in a try.
Oh, yeah, got the 071, the one around at the line. Oh, contact in the back. I don't know who got the win. Oh, everybody's going around at the finish there. I think Raymond Rittenauer got the win there. We're going to go back and look at that in slow motion because that was a wild finish there.
Looked like Kevin Fries got turned off the nose of Dude Conrad, so I'm not sure exactly who was in the lead after.
Say Raymond's doing some reverse celebrations here. Really good car control, able to keep that thing going backwards as well as he did for as long as he did there too. All right, let's go back and take a look at this because last lap, or actually off of 4, I should say. All right, so we're gonna start here. We'll watch the 89 of Matt Quick. So we talked about it, so if he can clear himself, he just clears himself off the 25 of Kevin Fries. He jumps to the top, but then Kevin tries to see if he can sneak. I think Kevin decides he wants to try to get to the top to not let that happen. So you can see they try to get to that 3rd line, almost makes a 4th line, if you will, though, as well, because you see the 071 of Eric Laurie. He's still running that top side. And then from there, so you can see Dude Conrad, he's kind of in between which line he wants to go with here. He's kind of behind the 89 as well as the 25. Then the 87 gets really loose from a big push from the 03 of Kevin Hash. They're able to hang on to it, though. Great car control by him. And then we watched as they go. That's the contact where the 071, Eric Laurie, he gets into the outside wall. And then from there, they kind of just that's where the pinball goes. There you see Charles Johnson gets caught up in that as well, it looks like. But then, let's say this is where things got really crazy at the line here. So slow down just a little bit more. I say we're watching coming to the flag here. Yeah, you see the 39 and the 6 make contact a little further back. And then, yeah, say, oh, yeah, you can see the Kevin Fries gets a little bit of bobble from Dude Conrad there. And then I think just, like I said, gets caught in that right rear. But then as they come across the line here, it's all just, yeah, kind of all for everything here. So you can see there at the line, Raymond Rittenauer definitely gets the win by about half a car over Matt Quick. So I'm going to go back just a little bit so I can run it slow-mo a little bit better so I can try to see who got third and by how close it was. Because it was, I think, inches probably between the 03 of Kevin Hash and, yeah, and then Dude Connor. So it looks like Dude's able to grab that third position, but, and I don't know, actually, Dale. I'm looking at it here. I feel like it should have been Kevin Freeze coming across line backwards in front.
Yeah, I was just looking at the same thing.
Maybe it's where those transponders were, like we talked about. Actually, no, I'm looking at the angle here a little closer. This is a better view here. Let's look at this one. Yeah, it looks. Oh, man, that's close. That's wild. So anyway, though,
if you go off the right corner of Kevin's bumper, he was ahead of Dude, but I don't think that's how they did.
No, I don't think that's how it goes. But yeah, so say it looks like for the way iRacing scored it, though, it's going to be Raymond Rittenauer getting the win over Matt Quick, Dude Conrad in third. Kevin Freeze finishes backwards in fourth. And Kevin Hash is going to grab a top 5. And then Mitchell Wilkes brings it home in sixth in that 71 car. So say looks like the team's able to get a top 5 for all of those guys. And then you got that 71 though bringing home in that 6th position. And then you see Brandon Pasolaco right behind the Carnage there in that 7th spot. So I'll say we'll follow the rest of this through. Say we'll watch some celebrations as well. Actually, you know what? We got to follow through with. Start with actually Dude Conrad here. So give us just a moment, and we'll start pulling everybody up. All right, so we're going to start things off with that number 8 of Dude Conrad. We saw him giving a big push to the 25. As you can see, just everybody looping it around there after the start-finish line. So wild finish here tonight. It was somehow Dude Conrad able to bring it home in third, and Dale's caught up with him to get an interview.
Hey, Dude Conrad, congratulations. Want to start with that. Heck of a run. Moved up 18 positions in the race. Let's talk about that run through the field.
Bud, my internet's acting up. Yeah, we got lucky there. Jumped on the high side early part of that race and kind of had to pinch our fuel there at the end. Couldn't get the high line running until, I don't know, 5 to go or so. I had some teammates up there. Tried to get up there at Crow, and my internet started blinking in and out. And I didn't know if I was going to throughput or not, so I just stayed in the gas and hoped for the best. Kind of shortchanged Kevin there at the end. I wish I'd have had something to see.
Yeah, coming down to the finish, you really pushing Kevin Freeze hard. I kind of thought you two were going to prevail there on the top line, but it looked like you might have got a little low, and you kind of hooked him a little bit. Not intentional, obviously, but what was going through your mind there as you was pushing him along through the trail?
I was hoping that because when the cars would come back on the track, it was like, I don't know, racing blindfolded. It sucked. I was hoping I'd pushed him to the line. It must have been 5 foot short of it. He should have finished third.
Yeah, it was super close. On our end, at least on my end, I couldn't see you having a connection issue at all. So that's news to me, and obviously displays that it was a lot more challenging on your end than it actually seemed.
I don't know what the hell's going on. We gotta get it fixed though. We could have took out the whole team. That sucks.
Yeah, well, again, congratulations. Started in 21st up to third. Heck of a run. You have anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just a good win for Ray Rittenauer and good finish for Quick. Sorry, Kevin. I gave it hell, man. We gotta figure this out.
All right, so that was our third place finisher there, Dude Conrad. So apparently Dale running into some connection hiccups as well. While trying to push his teammate there to try to get that win. So probably explains possibly that little bit of that contact they had between the two of them. Probably on his end maybe was lined up better than it was on our side or things like that. And so like I said, on the sim side of things, it's just there's all these little extra things that kind of add up to extra difficulties, but That being said, I'm not super surprised either because there have been a lot of connection issues this race, more so than usual. We saw a handful of them. Like I said, dude wasn't one before, but maybe something that popped up towards the end of that race though.
Yeah, didn't notice it. It might be a server issue, but good on him for running like that with the connection issues and coming all the way through the field like he did.
Yeah, so next up we got the 89 of Matt Quick. I want to say Matt has finished first and second in all the races so far. So I'll have to double check the stats on that. Say while you interview, I'm going to pull those up. Say about I've got Matt Quick here in that second position, that number 89 car.
Hey, hey Matt, how you doing today, bud?
Exciting at the end there. I mean, the rest of the race was kind of a, just snooze fest. I hope nobody fell asleep because that last 5 laps was probably the whole damn race.
Yeah, we was talking, wondering when everybody was going to go, but a lot of our conversation here in the booth was on your fuel strategy and getting a couple laps extra each stop. Talk about saving fuel for a little bit.
I mean, and this package, kind of like I've said in previous weeks, there's no point of riding up front. I mean, that's my philosophy. If I qualify up front, sure, I'll ride up there for a little bit, but honestly, I just ride and try not to die, and then try to push it as everybody's pitting. And I like to pit by myself. And Kevin Hash wanted to go with me, so we did that, and we stayed as long as we could each time. And so I knew that last run, because it basically splits this race up into thirds, and there's no cautions when there wasn't today. So you split it up into thirds, try to go 27 per run, and that last run you can stay out front. And if a caution came out with like 2 to go, I know I'm good at least for 1 green white checker. But I mean, I'd rather be up front. I mean, it's really hard trying to come from the back sometimes. You got to play it right. I mean, you saw how many different strategies there was people coming from the outside line, people bouncing from the inside line, and all that stuff. I'd rather be up front and somebody try to beat me. I won last week. I got second today, so I'll call it good.
Yeah, we was just talking. This is you've been first or second all 3 races, correct?
I got third the first race.
Yeah, so I just checked my numbers. I was off. Yeah, it's been a first, second, and third for the first 3. So you've covered all the podium positions so far.
Yeah, that first race was I messed up last time we were at Dega there. I pushed dude out of the way. Unfortunately, that wasn't the plan, but that's what happened.
So yeah, you pitted a couple laps later than everybody else. When you came out on the first stop, you and Kevin ended up falling behind the lead pack, but were able to catch up. Was the fastest 2 cars on the track to that point. Second pit stop, however, that wasn't the case. You guys came out ahead and pretty much stayed ahead. So it takes a lot of skill and a lot of talent to be able to do that. So congratulations.
Well, I mean, it just all kind of depends. We had a lap car in our way that first stop, so it was kind of scary, honestly, because I was passing somebody up on the apron coming on the track, and I don't try to do that, but I don't want to lose that draft. And then just the momentum coming off, and then from there, that second, I mean, there was nobody in our way. I mean, Kevin and I had a clean pit road, got in and out as fast as we can, and then I think since everybody else pitted early, they were eager to go in behind us, to save fuel behind us, because they had to save a gallon or two, because if they went up front, they're going to be about 3 laps short. Because I mean, if you're up front, you can only do like 24 laps. So that's the strategy right there.
Yeah, kind of confirmed some suspicions we had. Had it come down to a green-white checkered, you and Kevin Hash definitely would have been in the position to win. But great run today, obviously. Coming up second. Awesome pit strategies, awesome getting on and off pit roads and just staying clean the whole race. So anybody you want to give a shout out to?
I mean, you guys for putting up with the boring 68 laps. That last 7 was pretty good. So thank you for staying awake. Thank you for everybody else for that puts on the show. I mean, it's more than a one-man effort. I mean, leagues are hard to put together. And thank you for Kevin and Ray for hanging out, and Gabe and Dude and better Kevin Freeze and all them guys. I mean, we put down our gloves today. I mean, we threw them up. The last 2-3 laps was pretty hard. I mean, before I jumped to the second lane there, I was at 290 something in my oil, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it. And Freeze thought he was really close on gas, so if he sputtered, I knew if I can get that second lane, maybe just get a run, maybe I had a chance on Ray. That was my only hope. And then they kind of went on the third lane, which is their right, because it's the final lap. Everybody's trying to win a race. And honestly, that wreck at the line with the leaders up front there, that was probably like the cleanest wreck I've ever seen for a win.
Yeah, it got, like you say, it got real exciting. Wasn't a whole lot going on, but it's still good. Watching the the pit strategies play out. A couple guys had some penalties and all that, and kind of took them out of contention. So though wasn't a lot of on track action, I guess is how you would word it. There was still a lot going on, but everybody did a great job. Your entire team did an awesome job tonight. So really appreciate y'all coming out and racing.
Oh, thank you for having us, man. Hope to see you guys next week.
And also shout out to your helmet painter. That thing's glorious.
I appreciate it. The Grumpy Cat thanks you very much.
Great run there, Matt.
Thanks.
All right, so that is our second place finisher there, Matt Quigley. We got the onboard camera so you can see that Grumpy Cat helmet that he's got on there. Say that's an easy car to spot with that paint scheme though. So I say now we got to hunt down our race winner. I say it looks like he's finished doing the reversing. I say now we'll catch things up a little bit. So say while we interview, we'll watch him try to get that car pointed back in the right direction after going for a ride there, crossing the finish line there. But well, I say that's probably an exciting way to get the win here tonight, Raymond.
It was, definitely. To say the least. I took a heck of a shot there.
Yeah, you definitely did say a lot of you guys went around there at the very end. Those last few laps, they were wild. You guys were all kind of splitting up, going through wide, trying to figure out who's going to kind of position themselves in the right place at the right time. So you got that push at the end to get to the inside line. Was that kind of your plan? Was once you could get to the lead and control, did you want to have that inside line, or did you at all think about maybe trying to control that middle some more? As it seemed like both lanes were really strong there.
I was actually saving fuel a little bit on that last run before I could get out front. Once I could, I went up, and I thought my teammate was going to stay with me there. And then once he pulled up, luckily my other teammate Kevin gave me a heck of a shot there for the win.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can go back and talk about that too, because that was definitely a shot. So your hands were full there. So it was a great job hanging on to that thing. So I'm guessing the throttle pedal never went off the floor there to save it, but it definitely looked like it caught you a little bit there, where you had to really kind of hang on to that thing.
Yeah, I thought I was done, but luckily it stayed straight there, and I didn't wreck anybody.
No, you did an awesome job though. So say I think the first round, I want to say you went pretty aggressive, where you were up front, kind of pushing a lot of the race. And then it looked like I think the second run you kind of went more into that save mode. I think it was you and the one of Gabe Butler were able to save that extra lap on those guys that pitted the first time, pitted first the second time around. And then did you have to save it all on that last run there to the end, or were you feeling pretty confident on fuel?
I had to save for a little bit there to be able to run up front. I only had barely enough to get back around and do burnouts.
Okay, so you definitely ran it tight then as well.
Record would have been bad. We would have had to have pitted.
Okay, yeah. So, and that just, it just kind of shows how tight you got to run these things occasionally. So, a great run though tonight. Get in the win there. I say, unfortunately, it looked like your drafting partner. You lost him at the end a little bit from the with that number one of Gabe Butler, but actually kind of played a role in the end as well, able to get back into the draft and help you guys out as well.
Oh yeah, definitely helped us big time there at the end.
Well, I'll say you're kind of one of the perennial front runners in these things, so able to get the win here this evening. So I'm sure that definitely is an enjoyable one to have. So, is there any thanks shots you'd like to give for pulling off the win tonight?
Yeah, thank my sponsor, Lucky Dogs Doggy Daycare, all the boot knockers, heck of a team that we have here, and you guys for doing a heck of a broadcast.
Congrats again on that win, Raymond. Enjoy it. I'm sure we'll be having future chats with you here again soon.
All right, thanks.
All right, Dale, that's our race winner, the 87 of Raymond Rentnauer, bringing it home. Like you said, had to make a big save after that big push he got, but it's just at the end of this race, you kind of got to expect it, and he was able to hold on to it and bring home the checkered flag.
Yeah, absolutely. The ending of this race is pretty common for these plate races. Not going to lift coming down the line because you could gain quite a few positions in a late race wreck like that.
Yeah, exactly right. And I was saying it's one of those things, like they obviously said, like, apologies for the race being boring and things like that, but that's the thing is, I mean, these races, it's really a strategy race that you have to pull is to make sure you've got the fuel mileage where you need it to be and getting yourself in that best position. And sometimes that situation is saving extra fuel on those first, second runs. That way you can go full send at the end, like we saw Matt Quick do. Raymond Rittenauer, he was going aggressive at the beginning, but then he had to save the second run and then a little bit at the very last run as well. So it's just as I say, but then once you kind of get them all back accordion together, if you will, for the end, to say that's where things kind of get wild there at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's go through our results while we watch that number 87 do some celebration still. So we'll start off with our race winners. You can see Raymond Rittenauer getting the win over Matt Quick just by about 0.03 of a second. And then Dude Conrad was able to get by Kevin Freeze by 0.02 of a second. And it was an additional 0.04 of a second to that 0.3 of Kevin Hash. So they talk about that team, the Bootknocker team there, say finishing 1 through 5 here tonight. Then you got in 6th Mitchell Wilkes there in the 71 machine, Brandon Pasalacqua in 7th, Bud Steele 8th, Jimmy Crow 9th, Eric Laurie rounds out our top 10. And so unfortunately, that second group just was not able to bring that gap down when they needed to. When it was all said and done, you got Dean Wilkinson in 11th. Saying actually, look at that. And for 12th, Dalton Hayes Jack Wells actually tied for the 12th position, but looks like went to that 4th decimal place, giving it to Dalton Hayes in that 47 machine. You got Rob Malone 14th, Thomas Holder, Charles Johnson, Corey Lane, Gabe Butler, Mark Brown, Ted Decker Jr. in 20th. And then rounding out the results here, you got Paul Fletcher, Eugene Vernon, Brian Pierce, Cody Brown, and Nicholas Winuk. Unfortunately, had that contact off of too early on the race and had to retire for that machine. So with that, that's our race for this evening. Again, congrats to our top 3, Raymond Rittenauer, Matt Quick, and Dude Conrad. Really exciting finish there at the end. Say 3-wide racing for a handful of laps, trying to see who's going to pull out the win. Say Raymond Rittenauer gets it done at the end. So we'll be back on Tuesday night for the Indy Series. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And again, as always, if you can, please try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and have a good night.